She told him to file the papers. He actually did it, and the moment she realized what just happened. That's the part nobody's been talking about. Bunnie Xo finally sat down and said the words out loud. The divorce wasn't mutual. She didn't want it. And the man she built everything with, the redemption arc, the comeback story, the love story America was rooting for, made a decision she says she still needed a month and a half just to accept. But here's what's really underneath this. Because this isn't just about a fight on Mother's Day. This isn't just about two people growing apart. There's something Bunnie said on that podcast that changes the entire story of this marriage, and most people completely missed it. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why this divorce hit differently, and why the version the internet ran with isn't even close to the full picture. Let's go back to the beginning. Because to understand how this ended, you need to understand what this actually was. Jelly Roll, born Jason DeFord, spent years being the artist the music industry didn't know what to do with. Tattoos covering his face, a criminal record, a past so dark he once said he didn't think he'd survive it. And then, slowly, painfully, he built something real. The music started connecting. The story started resonating. And standing right beside him through all of it was Bunnie Xo. Bunnie, real name Elisa DeFord, wasn't just a supportive wife in the background. She had her own platform, her own voice, her own audience. The Dumb Blonde podcast wasn't a celebrity side project. It was a legitimate media presence. She was outspoken, raw, unfiltered. She didn't perform the role of country music wife. She showed up as herself every single time. Together, they were something rare in celebrity culture. They looked like the real thing, the kind of couple that had actually been through the fire together and chose each other anyway. That's what made May 18th hit so hard, because when the divorce filing dropped, nobody was ready for it. Not the fans, not the media. And based on everything Bunnie revealed on June 18th, not even Bunnie herself. Here's what actually happened. And this is where it gets complicated. Mother's Day. There's an argument. Bunnie doesn't want to get into the specifics, and honestly, the specifics aren't the story. The story is what came out of her mouth in that moment. She looked at Jelly Roll and said the words most people only say when they need to feel powerful in an argument. Well, then file the divorce papers. She didn't mean it as an instruction. She meant it as a release valve. The kind of thing you say when you're so exhausted, so emotionally wrung out, that you reach for the most extreme version of the sentence just to make the weight of the moment feel real. She packed a bag. She left the house. And then they didn't speak for close to a week. Now think about that silence. A week of no contact between two people who had built their entire public identity around transparency and connection. A week where whatever was happening inside that marriage was happening entirely behind closed doors. No podcasts, no posts. Just two people sitting with something too heavy to talk about yet. And during that week, Jelly Roll filed. He actually did it. Bunnie's own words on the podcast. He was so mad and we were so emotional that he ended up doing exactly what I told him to do, .. And then she laughed. 'Cause what else do you do? She said the thing. He did the thing. And now they're both living inside the consequences of a conversation that spiraled completely out of control. But here's what you need to pay attention to, because this is the line that reframes everything. Was I blindsided? And was this divorce mutual? No, I was not. It was not mutual. ... She said it twice. She made sure you heard it. Even though she was the one who said file the papers, she was speaking out of anger, out of frustration, not out of a decision. There's a massive difference between those two things, and Bunnie knows exactly where that line sits. She wasn't blindsided by the fight. She wasn't blindsided by the tension. What blindsided her was that he took her at her word when she didn't mean it literally. And that tells you something about where they both were emotionally at that point. Because when you're that far gone in an argument, when that much has been left unsaid for that long, sometimes the other person stops waiting for you to walk it back. Because here's what Bunnie also admitted. The issues weren't just about one Mother's Day blowout. She said the problems had been building for the past year. Both of them had slowly stopped being open with each other. The communication broke down quietly, the way it always does. Not in one dramatic moment, but in 100 small moments where you chose to say nothing instead of something hard. That's the part that stings. Because from the outside, they looked fine. The appearances, the interviews, the podcasts, none of it showed you this. And maybe that was part of the problem. When your relationship exists partially in public, there's pressure to perform a version of it that's always holding together, even when it isn't. So what happened next? What did Bunnie actually want when this all came apart? She wanted therapy. She said it plainly. I felt like we deserved a chance to go to therapy and figure out. She wanted to work through it. She believed the marriage was worth fighting for. Jelly Roll didn't feel the same way. She respects it now. She made a point of saying that it took her a month and a half to get there, but she got there. She's not bitter. She's not performing peace either. She says she's genuinely happy with where they've landed. That this is ending on the best possible terms a divorce can end on. And maybe that's the most honest thing anyone has ever said publicly about the end of a marriage. Not that it didn't hurt, not that it was easy, but that two people can reach the other side of something this painful and still choose to treat each other like they matter. The legal side of this is still moving. Jason DeFord filed on May 18th. The proceedings are ongoing. There's been no public statement from Jelly Roll's side. No podcast breakdown, no interview, no clarification, just the filing and the silence, which leaves a very specific kind of question hanging in the air. Because when one person processes publicly and the other goes completely quiet, what does that silence actually mean? Is it grief? Is it guilt? Is it a legal strategy? Is it just his way? And there's something else Bunnie said that hasn't gotten nearly enough attention. She said she's happy, genuinely, deeply happy with how this is unfolding. And she said it with a kind of certainty that you don't perform. But she also said it took her a month and a half to accept his decision. That's not a small window. That's someone who held on to the possibility of a different outcome for 45 days before finally letting it go. What happened during that month and a half? What conversations did or didn't take place? What did she say to him? And what did he say back? Because Bunnie gave us the emotional arc, but the details of that in-between period are still completely missing from the story. The marriage that looked unbreakable just ended. The man who filed the papers still hasn't said a word. And the woman who told him to do it is the one sitting in front of a microphone, explaining why she didn't actually want him to. Is it possible to love someone and still walk away? Is it possible to respect a decision that broke your heart? And at what point does keeping the peace become its own kind of loss? Subscribe to Celebzova, because this story isn't finished, and we're going to be right here when the next piece drops.